Simmons said he's the Rookie of the Year, and so Donovan Mitchell coincidentally decided to wear a hoodie with the definition of rookie last night before his game against the Warriors. An athlete playing his or her first season as a member of a professional sports team. I'm sure it had absolutely nothing to do with what Ben Simmons said. So here's what Simmons had to say about said hoodie.
No, he's implying that I am a rookie because it's my first season playing. If I wasn't a rookie this year, he would have definitely had it, but no, I'm not, so.
But listen, Donovan Mitchell, I like him. His team might end up third seed in the West. But Arvydas Sabonis, for example, got drafted. His rookie season was 10 years later after winning multiple championships in Europe.
Well, but there's multiple European players. That's the normal model for them.
Of course.
They typically don't come over.
Immediately, of
Right,
course.
yes.
But we've also had a rookie in the last 10 years to have the Ben Simmons model, Blake Griffin. And he won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. And I was doing TV then. You know what we were doing? We were talking about the same thing.
No, of course. Agreed. But I don't think... I understand why Donovan Mitchell's, a little perturbed that this is the situation. But this is the situation. Ben Simmons didn't set the rules of what the rookie class is. It's not your draft class. It's your first year playing.
No, it's not even about being serious. It's about having a little laugh, Nick. A little levity to him. I mean, it's a good sweatshirt. And I ain't for sure he didn't get that at Louisville because they got the Adidas things on. I mean, so both of them are right. I like Donovan. It's funny. But it's right. First professional season. You're a rookie in television. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Accept it. No problem.
Yeah.
It's cool.
There's no confusion there.
Yeah, Jita and I know that. Yes.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day, CC. Every day. Time for stories to start your morning.
We're going to get you a hoodie with that chain.
Two of them. Two hoodies. One chain.
One chain. Yes.
Two hoodies. Le'Veon Bell and the Steelers are reportedly not far off in negotiations, Chris Carter. We haven't said that in 5 years. The Steelers have increased their offer from what was believed to be $13 million annually. So it seems like the two sides could perhaps agree to terms soon. What do you make of the latest development, Chris?
I just know the Pittsburgh Steelers, they don't negotiate in the paper. So Le'Veon Bell and his camp, they keep putting these things out there. Oh, we're far away. Oh, I'm leaving Pittsburgh. Oh, they don't appreciate me. Oh, we're closer to getting the deal done. I'm so sick of the contract negotiation. I'm so sick of hearing about Le'Veon Bell. I'm really sick of it. Really sick.
Do you buy the numbers out there that they were already at $13 million a year?
No, last year before the season they were close to a deal. Now we're in April. Now we're close to a deal. So no, I don't believe it until a deal is signed. Pittsburgh's going to have to compromise, and Le'Veon Bell's going to have some serious compromise. They're going to get a deal done.
Listen, that's the reason I asked. If Pittsburgh was already at $13 million a year, I feel like they've already compromised quite a bit. When the next highest paid running back makes $8 million.
This is what I can guarantee you. I don't care how long the contract is. He will not get all that money. All right? He's a running back. He's got a couple more years left in Pittsburgh, if not one. So I'm not concerned about how long the contract is. I'm not concerned about the average. I'm only concerned about the guarantees, because that's the only part he's going to get.
All right, on to the NBA. Tonight, the Cavs host the Knicks to close out the season. LeBron says he intends to stick to his Zero Dark 30 plan of no social media during the playoffs. For reference, Nick and I will not be doing that during the playoffs when we watch together. CeCe, how important is it to eliminate distractions in the postseason?
Well, LeBron is on a different level. All right, this is something LeBron has been successful at doing. Most of the guys in the NBA, they are connected to their social media. I'm glad LeBron realizes it's not important in an overall scheme of life. There's nothing on Twitter gonna help him, nothing on the gram gonna help him. You can't slide into his DMs and help him. They'll stop someone. So listen,
I like it, CeCe.
It's overrated the impact of social media. But young people, Nick Wright included, they're connected to their social media. But I'm glad that LeBron has made it a priority to realize that it's not gonna help him get closer to Michael Jordan.
CeCe, you know what I will tell you though? One of LeBron's teammates is going to wish he was in Zero Dark 30 on social media, and that's Tristan Thompson. Maybe LeBron can give him a little bit of his.
Wow.
Some things surrounding Tristan on social media this week, which ain't great. This has been LeBron's MO for the last I mean, as long as basically Twitter's existed, this has been his MO. I don't expect it to change for him. It does allow him to block out some of the noise, which I think is helpful. I'm actually a little surprised more players don't engage in this same thing, because there's nothing to be gained, certainly during this time of the year, from that and listening to the noise.
Yeah, but you don't have to go 0 dark 30 to not be engaged in it. Like the other players, like they don't have to say, I'm shutting everything down. Like, make it a priority. What's the most important thing over the next 2 months? Trying to win a playoff series, trying to get your team in a better position. That's the only thing important to the players. Twitter ain't gonna help you get no buckets, bro.
Finally, last night, the Rockets were in L.A. and beat the Lakers for their 65th win of the season. That's the most in franchise history. However, Rockets head coach Mike D'Antoni had some interesting comments after the game, saying failing to win a championship wouldn't diminish what the Rockets have done in the regular season. Nick, do you agree that the Rockets season is already a success?
I understand his point.
Not no, but H-E-L-L no. Okay? There's no one in Houston's organization that thinks that way. The owner, not the general manager.
What about Mike D'Antoni?
He just told a lie.
Okay.
That's all that is. That's a lie right there. How many championships has he won?
Lie.
How many championships have you won?
0.
Okay, this would change his life. So, what we do in the postseason, it wouldn't matter, even though it would personally change my life.
What did you want him to say?
Just be a little bit smarter. Like, come on, Mike. Like, let's be a little bit smarter. There's no one in the organization believes that. There's no one that's even looking at these clips and talking about this today believes that. So I don't even know why you would say something that's not true.
And the biggest problem for D'Antoni saying it, the point, I get it. Winning 65 games in the NBA is very hard. They just became just the 21st team ever to do it.
Ask
But,
Golden
hold on
State
a second,
that broke the
CC.
NBA record, 73, when they lost in the finals to Cleveland. Draymond said, wow, that was a waste of time.
Of course. But there's also no coach worse saying this than Mike D'Antoni, because he's had 60-win seasons that didn't end well, because of the 2 stars on his team who have had not 60-win seasons that didn't end well, but number 1 seed seasons that didn't end well. Like, he's the worst messenger for this. Now, I will mention this. The big news out of Houston that should be noted, not so much D'Antoni's comments, but last night, a guy that I would argue has been one of their 4 most important players this year, Luc Richard Mbah a Moute, dislocates his shoulder. He already missed a month with that injury earlier in the year. He got injured last night doing that. If he's out for the bulk of their playoff run, that is a major injury that can't be forgotten. Like, that's an important development as far as the NBA scene as a whole. But I'm sure, listen, I got friends and family in Houston. Like, they don't want to hear Mike D'Antoni saying we've already been a successful season, not when the knock on D'Antoni, the knock on Chris Paul, and the knock on James Harden, fair or otherwise, has been you can't get it done in the postseason. You're just great in the regular season.
There are many times when you're doing interviews, you have to kind of give the public a version of the truth that they can accept. Not tell them a lie, but you can't tell them the real truth. When you get down to a situation that this would change my career, it would change the perspective of how people would look at me. It would change the owner's life who just bought the team. It would change Daryl Morey and his analytics, like bringing validity to that. So it's just, come on, man. I mean, come up with something that
Well,
we
he's
can...
not going to say, if we don't win it all, it was a disappointment for us.
I think
Why wouldn't?
I think a lot of teams
What's wrong with that?
I don't know any...
I think a lot of teams...
They dominate NBA. They have the best record. All right? Most of the teams that have won 65 games have gone on to win the championship. So...
I mean, yeah, I think a lot of teams would say that. I think Steve Kerr and them, the year when CeCe mentioned they won 73 games, like, what's success? Winning a championship. I think if you asked the coach of the Cavs, Ty Lue, what's success? Winning a championship. I think D'Antoni's one of the few coaches, actually, that would not say that. And I think he's probably one of the coaches that's not positioned in a place where he should be saying that.
Self-defense mechanism. Hey, new topic now, NFL draft. If this is the year of the quarterback, then it's not the year of the wide receiver. The top 3 receiver prospects in the draft are Alabama's Calvin Ridley, Maryland's DJ Moore, and Texas A&M's Christian Kirk. Monday morning quarterbacks Connor Orr noted these receivers might have a tough road ahead adjusting to the NFL. One former wide receiver, Ricky Proehl, went as far as to call the position, quote, in crisis at the college level. CeCe, why is it so hard for wide receivers to adjust to the NFL in the last few years?
I'm glad Ricky Proehl addressed it like that, because we went through this in college football and pro football with the quarterbacks. We went through a lack of quarterback development. We went through a period where there was a lack of quality quarterback coaching. So we saw the younger quarterbacks struggle especially going from a college system that's typically the plays are called from a coach, controlled by the coach, and there's no audible system, and how that didn't transfer over the big numbers from college football over to pro football. Now we're starting to see the wide receivers. Wide receiver has always been a very difficult position for younger receivers to play. Wide receivers have struggled at the position for a long, long time. Now, why more than ever? Because the college football game and what they teach, it's not transferable. All the space that they're able to play in and the lack of good cornerback play in college football. If one team has one good corner, that means they got 3 or 4 bad ones. Most college football teams are playing 3 or 4 receivers, so you can isolate on these bad cover guys. And the way the hash marks are set up, being wider apart, you can dictate putting the ball on one hash and throwing to a lot of space that you can't do in pro football. The inability to get to the quarterback in college football, all right? It affects you. The lack of time. But the number one reason for wide receivers struggling is inability to get off of the bump and run in pro football. The number 2 reason why they struggle is that the route adjustments. In pro football, you will have one of 3 routes that you will run, dictated by the coverage. If it's cover 3, that means the DB is off of you. You have space. He's 7 to 8 yards off, and he's going to backpedal in the zone. Your route's going to be this. If the cornerback comes up at the snap of the ball, you have a different route. If the cornerback happens to play a combination coverage with the safety, you have a 3rd route. And that learned part of the game is not being transferred. That's why New England, they don't use a lot of young receivers, because the passing game is more sophisticated in the NFL. And we see guys struggling. So you wonder why? The bump and run, the route adjustments, adjusting your routes on the run and reading coverages. Those are things that led Ricky Proehl to saying that there's a crisis among the development of wide receivers. And I haven't been coaching wide receivers the last 2 years because I've been working with this guy, so those wide receivers have suffered too.
Oh yeah.
So forget everything I said for 20 minutes.
I want to go back to something you said at the very beginning, because it's something you and I have talked about a lot over the last.
Typically, in a normal situation, I would be in Florida. And if I wasn't doing a show, I would have 8 to 10 wide receivers coming into this year's draft. Except last year's draft and this year's draft is the only draft in the last 15 years that I haven't done that. So I have seen the poor play come from college and not transfer over. I had Laquan Treadwell, 1st-round pick of the Minnesota Vikings. This is a crisis year for him. This is year number 3, and they put the gun to his head and said, listen, it's time for you to perform, or we're going to have to move on for you. I thought he'd been a star by now. So I have seen it through the years and in the recent years, too.
All right, so a few things. One is something you and I have talked about a lot off the air, is the positions where it is most easy to translate college to pro to least easy, like to most difficult. Like, so running back, we talk about how, I mean, if you're a star running back in college, you got a great likelihood of being a star running back in the pros. You and I have talked about this, but explain to the audience, why is running back a position that translates much more easily? And you said wide receiver is one that's one of the hardest to translate college to pro.
Yeah,
why?
Running back, because if little Johnny runs the ball from 8 years old, the plays are very, very similar. You either hand it to him or pitch it to him. His natural instincts, even as a little leaguer, transfer over to high school, over to college, and then into pro football, because it's about instincts, vision, lateral quickness, and explosive through the hole. Those things transfer. In college football, a dominant running back, man, you can immediately put him in a pro system, give him a few plays. Now, catching up to the passing game, the blocking, catching up to the passing game, catching the ball, those are things. But the running skill is right now. High school receivers is totally different than college, and college receivers are totally different than the pros. And the overall physicality of it is totally different. That's why the skills aren't as transferable, and you have to be a learned person at the wide receiver to be able to get those skills that would allow you to do your job.
All right, so the one other thing that Ricky Proehl talked about that you didn't mention when you were breaking this down is he talked about the way guys are taught to catch the football now as opposed to in his era or the era before. He talks about catching it with the fingertips. And one of the things that people know that during football season, we do this segment called Hall of Fame Hands. And it's very rarely NFL plays. It's a lot of college and high school plays. And you get visibly frustrated with guys who seem to want to do one-handed catches when they don't need to do one-handed catches. How much of the way you were taught or you taught guys to catch the football is different from what you're seeing guys that are coming into the league in 2017 and 2018?
Yeah, Ricky and I grew up in the same era, and I got a lot of respect for Ricky Proehl. He's one of the best wide receiver coaches in the NFL. He's a total technician, the way he played the game. Not overly big, not overly fast, but mastering the route tree. Started his career playing outside, moved later in his career to being very effective playing in the slot. So there are so many things that young players, they deem to be important that are not important. You guys showed me the video. A guy was doing a flip. I was like, that's a waste of time. All right, there's no skill that comes with that, and there's nothing transferable to it. And the ability to catch the ball away from your body. The reason why Ricky deems that to be important is because in college football, open is this much space. In pro football, open is this much space. And your ability to be able to separate away from the defender. If a defender is even on me and I'm covered, if I reach out with my length, he can't cover me. So I can catch the ball in my fingertips away from my body, even if there's a guy on my back. His reach won't be able to get there. Guys catch the ball in their hands and in their body, so that allows the defender to participate in the play. That's what Ricky Proehl is talking about as far as catching the ball away from your body as far as you can. That's a skill that we don't see kids picking up at a younger age.
What do we do about this? We have a few seconds left before we go to break. What's the solution? Is it on the college coach to maybe, add a few more things in for the receiver? Is it on the NFL coach to simplify play calling a little for the receiver just to get them up to speed?
Well, this is what we have. We have a training system, a farm system that the NFL doesn't pay for. That's college football. It's built in. They're going to produce all of our players, but Alabama, Ohio State, Florida State, UCLA, it's not the coach's job to get that kid ready for pro football. It's his job to get him ready for college football and have a couple guys who are talented enough that they're able to play in pro football. It's no different than what we started getting with specific coaching, quarterback coaching. We start seeing guys man, I'm a quarterback guru. You need to see more specific wide receivers coaching the position, getting guys ready for the things that they actually need to learn. So what you should see more guys like Ricky Proehl, guys who have the experience, who can actually teach the position. I believe that wide receiver is a position that is better taught by guys who play the game and understand the game. And when I say play the game, that doesn't mean playing at the pro level. That means just playing at a level where you understand the fundamentals that are necessary to do the job effectively.
And I just want to follow up one more thing, because I've been with you when you have been doing some coaching. I don't think the audience knows that that's probably what you love more than anything in the world, is coaching football. You coach high school football. It is. And
if money was no object, I would be a college wide receiver coach.
Right. I mean, we've talked about this, right? And we also
money and time.
All right. And location, maybe, of where a lot of these universities are.
And money.
Regardless, the point, we were standing right here, and Alvin Kamara was here. The show was a couple weeks old, and you talked to him about the stem of his routes.
Yes.
You talked to him, and so I'm watching. And what I'm realizing from watching is the things you're focused on. Now, I know the audience says Kamara's a running back, but he's playing a lot of wide receiver as well. The things you're focused on have almost nothing to do with catching, have almost nothing to do with the speed. It's the technical things. It's when you talk about Odell, you talk about his releases. That's why, correct me if I'm wrong, he can get off the bump and run. When you're talking about the stem of Alvin Kamara's routes, that was on a choice route, right? So that's when you're talking about the route adjustments throughout it. Those are the types of things that I think the casual fan, or even the dedicated fan, which I consider myself, don't even think about, doesn't even occur to us. And tell me if I'm right here, that those are things that are getting lost for some of these super athletes, these first-round picks who have survived off their athleticism in high school and college. Once they get to the pros and every corner's good and every defense is schemed, they're missing out on those technical points.
Right, and it goes to the theory that the athletes are bigger, stronger, faster now. Yeah, the athletes are bigger, stronger, faster. But let me tell you, wide receiver, they are not better. All right? They are not better because they don't have the fundamentals that go with the bigger, stronger, faster. So I'm like Ricky Proehl. Man, it's a crisis. You guys think we've been going with the quarterbacks that are going to be bust. There's going to be more wide receivers going to be bust. And the numbers indicate the last 5 years, the wide receivers, the number of bust or lack of productivity, and it's been amazing to astonishing to see.
All right, we're going to break it there. Coming up.
I can solve this, though. I can leave TV. I can fix some of this for somebody.
Okay. If the money's right. Is it time for Josh Rosen to stop talking?
Hey, Nick Saban, call me again. And then I'll parlay that against Urban Meyer.
How soon like in Tuscaloosa?
Man, the money green in Tuscaloosa.